We have the latest for you now on Michael Spavor. Breaking news from overnight. His secret trial in China after more than 2 years in custody is now over. But the Chinese court gave no verdict and his fate remains uncertain. We begin with the latest video into us showing the dramatic events happening overnight. Police vehicles racing past journalists outside the courthouse in Dandong, China. Journalists say they couldn't see inside and were not sure whether Spavor was inside one of the vehicles or in a second police car that went through later. Police pushed journalists back and Canadian diplomats were kept out of the courtroom and away from the courthouse. Here's Jim Nicol. He's the deputy head of mission of the Canadian Embassy in Beijing, speaking to reporters before the trial began.
We have made repeated requests to the Chinese authorities to have access to the courtroom. We, of course, have not received any information about the process that's underway.
Well, in this video, you can see representatives from the U.S., the U.K. and Australia joining the Canadian diplomats in a show of solidarity outside the courthouse. Spavor's trial was quick, with police vehicles leaving the courthouse, the only sign to reporters waiting outside that it was over. He was never seen inside the court. While his lawyer was with him, there is no word on Spavor's condition. He's facing life in prison. Nicol is again voicing hope this morning that U.S. diplomatic efforts will help free Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig.
We are very pleased that the United States has shown support for Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. We're working closely with the United States as well to secure the immediate release of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. And so we're hopeful that in some measure this trial may too lead to their immediate release.
In what could be seen as a bright moment for Nicol and the other Canadians, they told reporters that Spavor relayed through his lawyer that he was able to see them waving. Spavor and Michael Kovrig have been held by China for more than 2 years. Kovrig was set to go on trial on Monday. Both Canadians are accused of spying, but their detention is widely seen as Chinese retaliation for Canada's arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou on an extradition request from the U.S. Their case remains at the center of Canada's diplomatic dispute with China. Patrick Falk now has more on what happened last night.
Well, the trial of Michael Spavor has ended today with us being no clearer about what exactly happens to him next. The hearing in Dandong lasted well over 2 hours. We were expecting a swift conclusion, but instead there was no verdict. The Intermediate People's Court of Dandong said that this was not an open trial because it involved state secrets, but that Spavor was accompanied by his defense lawyers and that the court would issue a verdict at a later date. Canada's Charge d'Affaires has hit out at the lack of transparency.
It's not been a transparent process. There has been a hearing today, which we at the Canadian Embassy and fellow supporters from other embassies in Beijing and from consulates in Shenyang who've come out to witness this hearing. We're unable to have access to the courtroom. We were also unable to have access to Michael Spavor himself before the trial, so that leaves it remains unclear what has transpired in the courtroom, and we remain frustrated about that.
Michael Kovrig, of course, will have his court hearing on Monday, but if today is anything to go by, then it's very likely that we won't know exactly what happens to him after the trial either. Patrick Falk for CBC News in Dandong.